You heard this Mercury retrograde coming up. You don't know what to do. Man, it's like there's some person that goes live and talks about what's actually going to be happening for this Mercury retrograde. So tap in if you're just seeing this. Forever who is watching this, thank you all for joining me right now. Mercury retrograde is coming up. Mercury retrograde is coming up. If you feel the pre-shadow of it in the air right now, that's because it is definitely pulling through. So when it comes to your communication and when it comes to things like this, it's best to just slow things down. It's the first thing that I'm going to say. There's nothing else that you get in this entire video. Mercury retrograde is about you slowing down for a minute. So when you have that, oh, I got to do this. When you have that, oh my God, like what if you don't do it right now? Mercury retrograde once more advises you to slow things down, right? I'm playing with lights right now because of course I am. Anyway, thank you all for being here, popping in. I see that there was some love from England. Big ups to you too. Peace and blessings. Appreciate y'all for being here for real. So Mercury retrograde is something that I've been covering for the last while, at least like actively, right? So for the last 5 years, I've been covering just about every Mercury retrograde on either YouTube or on here. Speaking of, I am working on putting more back onto my YouTube channel. I definitely have been hitting a short form content renaissance, but my heart really goes to long form stuff, and I want to be able to, I'm working on a lot of the little edits and stuff to make sure that the long form things are super dope and engaging. So thank you all for being so patient. Just to let you all know, I am about to put out a newsletter for the first time, like an actual proper newsletter, and it's going to be a community as well. I'm working on the details. I'm working on a name for it still, but there will be a free newsletter, and there's also going to be a subscription base as well. So if you wanted to just, and for anyone who's ever wanted to tip me or be like, oh, thank you for the content, that's the perfect way to do it. And then you get more exclusive content. And I'm really going to be talking about a lot of things unfiltered because I have to do certain things for Instagram. I have to do certain things for YouTube. So that's going to be really the place where you get the real astrology. So I'm going to be putting that out for y'all very soon. So please stay tuned, especially for the Mercury retrograde, because I will be talking about the actual instances of this Mercury retrograde as they happen. So please make sure that you tune in. We'll be getting that started soon. Checking in from England. Much love. I'll watch it later on YouTube. Say less. Appreciate you. I'm working on getting the quality up for that too. So keep that in mind. But right now we're going to do IG lives because that's what people are coming through. Does it affect Virgos more? Yes. Yes, it does. Most of the time I would be like, oh, it affects everybody. But specifically with Mercury retrograde, that is going to be impacting Virgo placements probably the most. And the reason why that is because they're the ones who are kind of holding that Mercury retrograde energy for all of us, right? And when you think about it as just an energy signature, people that have a Virgo sun, their ego, their role is aligned with that energy center. And that energy center is centered around what? The earth, but not just the regular earth. Think about gardening, right? People having to grow food over time. People having to grow plants over time. It takes a long bit in order for like a seed to grow into a flower or for a seed to grow into a tree, right? But why is that? Because you have to consistently water it. You have to consistently put tender love and care into whatever it is that it is. So if you do that in like little bits and little bases, this Mercury retrograde is trying to just remind you that whatever it is that you think of and that you enjoy, you need to water with attention, right? So one of the things to really put into that perspective, right? And I use a lot of transits a lot of times because it just helped me with certain time frames, right? So for me, my Mercury retrograde almost challenge to myself, right? Is like, hey, instead of just making these short videos and this live stream, the challenge to myself is like, hey, you used to really want to do YouTube. Okay, so now what I'm going to be doing is that like just actively, the best I can, implementing that as much as I can. Not in a rush, not in like a forceful way, not in a, I need to make sure I post 10 videos in this week, but like, okay, I got one out there. Cool. Okay, I got another one out there. And what I suggest for you all is like find that thing. Because I know what that is because I'm very, I really watch the transits as best I can in order to do that, right? But that's something that I definitely would recommend. It's just seeing what it is that you already like and want to do. And Mercury and Virgo is going to show you the details of how to get it done better. So it's not as much of a hassle to get done. When you say communication, are arguments and miscommunication more likely to occur during this period? Yes. And I think one of the main things about Mercury retrograde is that unlike when Mercury's direct, people don't know how to disengage as well, right? So when you get into an argument or when you get into an altercation and you know that you're at a point where both of you, and you're like, yo, I don't even know what this was about in the first place. And you're like, yo, I don't even know how we even got here. That's a huge theme that happens during Mercury retrograde because most people don't have the fullness of whatever they're trying to explain. And sometimes it might be hard for a person to be on the same page immediately. So what I would recommend for this is to practice the patience, right? Because you can be talking to someone that you really like and y'all might just be disagreeing on something. And you're like, why are we even here? But everyone's going back and forth, yell, this, that, and the third. The real thing about that is that you need to find a way to disengage, to be like, yo, we need to get back to this in a little bit, right? So it's less about, hey, the arguments are always going to happen and the blows are going to happen, all this other stuff. That's a possibility. But the reason why astrology is so great is because you get to hear what the vibes are. You can know what energy is just moving and impacting all of us. So when you see yourself being a little bit more analytical, a little bit more nitpicky, and then the other person that you're talking to is a little bit more analytical and a little bit more nitpicky, you're less like, hey man, screw you, this is your fault, and you're more like, oh shoot, maybe we can get back to this later. Maybe we should go both take a time out. I'll go over here, you go over here. Let's really think about what we're trying to say, and let's come back to it afterward. So that's the thing about astrology. Like, people think that astrology, pop astrology does this, but for actual astrology, right? The whole basis about it is like, this is for you to know, and now it's up to you to make these things happen. This is for you to comprehend and understand, but now it's up to you to make that work. And that's why these transits of Mercury retrograde, most people are afraid of them when they hear about it, right? Now, granted, it's like we live in a very fast-paced world. You get what I'm saying? Very fast-paced. The fact that y'all were just probably scrolling through, saw me go live, or shout out to those who had notifications, and shout out to those across the world watching this right now, because I low-key been seeing an international audience. I saw someone earlier say they were from India, so much love to you as well. The concept of this, right, and the change and the reason why all this is so important is because, like, these energies are always here. And that's the most Mercury Virgo thing I can say, is that Mercury Virgo is all about the facts. It's all about, like, what's going on, right? There's a literal hurricane going on. They're like outside right now, not too far from here, where I'm at, right? And of course, I'm working while there's like literally a emergency service thing at the other side, right? But the idea behind it is like, it's the details. It's the what are you going to do on a day to day. It's the how do you want to make that day to day work. And when you don't have the words, shut up. That's what I think people don't understand. Mercury retrograde said, if you don't have the words right now, shut up. Let spirit handle it. Let yourself just sit back for a minute. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to be consistently outputting. Mercury retrograde makes us sit there and really think what it is that we want to do and how we want to expend our energy. Mercury's at its home sign in Virgo. As a matter of fact, I think Virgo represents Mercury more than Gemini does. And I think of less like whatever, basis of that. But I think Virgo definitely represents Mercury more. See how I just messed up? Anyone who's ever watched me, they know I'm like this. This is a Mercury retrograde. So what I do is I step back, right? And it's funny because this is something that anybody can do, right? I read and watch and have been studying astrology from a does this actually going to happen angle for years. So I have a different capacity, but the reason why I love doing birth chart readings is so I can align your stars to you, your life, who you are, what you're going through, everything that's happening in front of you, and really get a very customized and detailed explanation to how your energy works and how you can best exude it out into the world. So for anybody who's never gotten a consultation with me, please make sure that you check it out. I am a 5-star consultation. Go check out the reviews. I got about, I'll get y'all right. I get y'all right. And if anyone has any questions about the readings or how they work, etc., feel free to reach out to me. And if you can't afford a reading right now, that's perfectly okay. We have a bunch of free resources over on the website, ebooks, etc. And then when I put out the newsletter, everybody's going to be able to have a free rendition of whatever that horoscope is. You may have to pay in when it gets to the, hey, this is for Aries, this is for Taurus. But as far as the overall scope, I always will be giving that to y'all. So don't be weary. This is astrology for everybody. Much love. How will the Virgo North Node and South Nodes be affected? Let's back this up. When it comes, forget the North Node, right? How Virgo, just in general, as energy, right? And we all have Virgo in our charts, right? That's a secret that everybody who's an astrologer knows, is that someone could be like, man, I don't like Virgos. And then in my head, as an astrologer, I'm like, oh, you don't like Virgos? Let me see your chart. Where's that at? I'll find it. I'll be like, it's in the 8th house. And I'm like, oh, it's in the 8th house? Okay. So you don't like Virgos because they make you have to like really think about the deep-seated emotions that you have that you don't like to address. And it's like, what? How do you know that, right? But that's astrology. You're able to really just see the in-between layers of that. But even like I just said, hear how analytical that is. Hear how like the scientific sound of that happens. What is it in your life and in your mind that you get scientific about, right? I'm thinking about like film critics. Film critics, the Barbie movie, Oppenheimer. Let me just use that as an example, right? They're the people that they're like, basically, I think Mercury in retrograde in Virgo is like, that's like the person who didn't like a movie, so to speak, but knew how to write a review and knew how to take themselves out of the review to actually explain what the vibe was. You know what I mean? I think it's very hard because recently, in the last 5 or so years, journalism has become way more personal than impersonal. We don't talk about that enough, but it's very much like everything's an opinion piece or a thought piece versus like, here's the actual information. Food for thought. But the idea though is like, Mercury and Virgo want you to align to your truth, to align to the things that you see and know to be your reality, right? And your reality can be questioned. There are people that might be like, hey, but what about this? And that might just be the one detail that you were missing in order for you to actually excel. Sometimes it's like that literal one thing that we don't hear or that we don't get from ourselves that's actually going to be bridging people into their actual power. So Mercury retrograde, yeah, it's scary. Oh no, things aren't going to work out. Oh no, it's a little inconvenient. It's like, well, sit down and shut up and let the universe, because maybe, just maybe, for a mere moment, you letting go of control is trying to show you something. You know what I mean? I was just watching this show last night, right? And there's this character in it who is associated with the energy of Mercury. And basically, he has this magic book, right? This magic comic book. And this magic comic book ends up showing whatever's about to happen. And everybody around him is questioning it. They're like, no, this can't be this. This can't be that. And they're like, no, every time something gets put into here, it's actually going to happen, right? And they'll try to change things up. But because they try to make the changes versus what they know was already a part or was already in front of them, things wouldn't work out because it would still happen, but the things wouldn't work out the way that they anticipated, right? And that's Mercury and Virgo. Virgo is like the details. Sometimes you have to trust before you actually know the details. And all the people that were in that circumstance didn't trust that. They were trying to make their own thing. They were trying to like figure something out. They didn't pay attention enough to what was the detail around it in order for them to actually remain successful when they actually was already told what's going on. That's why the universe don't be telling people what's coming up in their future for real. They don't do that. They don't do that. But what they do, but what they actually do is put you in the mindset, and they put you in the lane, and they put you in the direction that you have to go. And that's what makes the real difference, right? Well, there's something I wanted to plug in before I forgot for anybody who's in here. For anyone who's in here and wants to learn some more astrology, right? This is this little in between, right? Wants to learn any more astrology, I highly recommend you go to my bio and you click on the astrological immersion. I'm going to be there next week. watching all 5-6 days of this beautiful immersion run by none other than the legendary OG astrologer, Deborah Silverman. That's one of the first people I've ever seen make a real impact with astrology on the overall culture, on the collective as a whole. And she's hosting this entirely for free. It's like a $500 value, literally for free, to show you all her talking to these powerful spiritual guides in life, these influencers that end up really bridging in a stronger part of the collective. And that's one of my teachers and one of my people that I really do love and enjoy ever so dearly. So if y'all could do me that favor and just click on that, it is a free event. I will be there the entire time. If y'all are watching it with me, feel free to just tap in and be like, yo, you just see that? Or, yo, what you think about this? Because that's what this is really about, making the conversation. So if y'all have the time, make sure that you end up popping and checking that out. I believe there's going to be replays as well, but I will be there live because that's how I am. But aside from that, I kind of want to just circle back. I don't want to make this too long and like get lost into whatever, but I do want to emphasize this final message at the very least, right? Let me just sit for a second, right? Mercury retrograde, watch it. Just sit back, think. So, when it comes to this Mercury and Virgo, this is you learning how to re-believe in yourself by finding out new information now that an older you wouldn't be able to integrate, but the you in the present moment knows exactly what to do with. And the more that you allow those moments of right? Virgo's opposite sign is Pisces. So the more you kind of lean into that, like, oh, it's all good. Let me just go with the flow. Let me just pop. Let me just relax for a bit. You know, I'm going to go take a nap. I'm a little frustrated. Nervous system a little whatever. Let me go sit down. Let me go watch a show. The more you learn how to relax, quote unquote, and let spirit show you what to do next, you won't feel exhausted. You won't feel burnt out. And this Mercury retrograde is happening from August 23rd to September 15th. So this is a long time frame. Do not get me wrong. I will be posting the posts, the memes, the reels, the information, and I'm also getting started that newsletter for y'all. And it's going to be a way easier way for y'all to like get in, tap in. There's an app for it too, so you just keep the notifications on and you will be getting consistent astrology. The ones that end up getting the premium subscription, oh my God, I'm going to be posting so much. I'm going to dump there like it's literally Astro Tumblr. Like there will be a lot of information on there. Either video or written, etc. It doesn't matter. The whole idea behind that is to make sure that there's as much information raw given to you from one of the illest in the game, if I do say so myself. But yeah, I'm just really excited to be working deeper and closer to you all in this process. If you are on my email list, there's an email list up in the link in the description. If you want an easy route to get on my email list, just make sure that you get one of the free ebooks. I literally have one on Mercury Retrograde, The Art of the Rewind, which is completely free over there as well. But that was all I kind of wanted to do for today. Pop in for a minute, talk about Mercury Retrograde, talk about how you can utilize it, how you can end up seeing it better in your life. Yes, it will be impacting Virgos pretty hard, but it's going to be impacting the entire collective. I will be dropping more on that. We'll probably be doing my first YouTube video back on that specifically. So please make sure that you're on the lookout for that. I'm going to have a lot of fun making that for y'all. It's a lot of work, but I'm going to have fun doing it for y'all because I think y'all are worth giving that information to without the BS in front of it. And sign up for a consultation if you never got one before. It is literally a hurricane outside, so any so if y'all want to invest, make sure that things are Gucci. No play. But for real, like, thank you all for like showing up and pulling through, because this Mercury retrograde is going to really show you exactly what you got to do. It was good, but it's going to show you exactly what you got to do to move forward. So if you're watching a replay of this, make sure that you share this with somebody, leave a comment, a like, etc. Or on any of my posts. Honestly, the algorithm has been bugging out recently. We have been finding so much more of the soul group and soul family, and I'm really excited to be able to get you all like linked up together and just like, oh, my favorite thing is seeing people in the comments helping each other out. I'm like, yo, what? They're like, oh, I'm going through this. They're like, yo, don't worry. And there's like 5, 6, 7 people popping in, confirming, being like that. That's so beautiful to me. And I just like, that's what I really do this for. It's just to make the space open for those type of conversations, for that type of understanding. And so we can bring astrology into the real world and not just have it like, oh, astrology, hokey pokey. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's really get this direct to it so we can make it real. Because that's my job, is to make astrology real for you, so you to see it in front of you. That sounded cooler than I thought it would, so I'm going to be out. Nah, but for real, much love, and sign up for a reading consultation, or just check out some of the ebooks for free. Like, you got some time, it's a rainy day where I'm at in LA, so pull up. Much love, yo.